I am unmuted. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the bonus roll taking place this lovely Friday evening, as opposed to our normal Sunday afternoon games. We're still going to have our Sunday afternoon game, but today we got something special instead of our normal GM's Brew episode. I am here with Cookie, and we are going to be doing. Yes, thank you very much, Zizva. Like I noticed that too. That this we got 666 views. I am very happy about that. Today we are doing a special one-shot. It shouldn't run much longer than our normal episode of the GM's Brew. I am here with Cookie, and we are going to do Opal's pre-game adventure that I didn't get done before we introduced Opal to the game because life, chaos, and the vagaries of the universe. Let's see here. How you doing today, Cookie?
Tired, but okay.
Yeah, it has been a day for pretty much everyone involved, I think.
I should have taken a nap.
Yeah, I tried and it did not work. I am just looking hideous because of it, too. Like, I hate how I look right now. I should have gotten a hat.
Although, unintentional color matching.
Yes, it works. Okay, so take that down. I'm just collating my notes, making sure I got all the right stat blocks up, making excuses. Alright, so real quick, we're going to have our normal episode of Second Sight Agency this Sunday at our normal time. This is not a supplement, replacement, or anything like this. If this is, however, popular, we may continue to do like mini one-shots on Fridays. I don't know. We'll see. Basically, anything that gets the views in, I am all for. The background music that you're hearing is, as always, provided by Sirenscape. Wonderful, powerful tool. Check them out. I use them in my home personal games as well as on here. Looking for other information. If you're watching this on Twitch, please thank you for following, and if you can, we would really appreciate a sub. Subs are just wonderful things to have around. They make us a little extra money, which helps us pay for some of the costs. If we start getting more, then we may be able to get character art updated more regularly, frequently, and such. Let's see here now. Well, Zizva is in the chat saying that she would like more mini one-shots. Mini one-shots would probably not be Second Sight Agency games. This may be the one-shotter's evolution that I was talking about. Anyway, thoughts, processes, ideas. Moving on. If you're watching this on Twitch, please sub, follow, or share with us with a friend. Also, we really appreciate people chatting in group or in chat. The more people that chat, the more emotes we unlock when we get around to getting emotes uploaded. As you can see in the background, I have a small bed set up here because I spend a lot of time in this room writing and stuff like that. Please ignore it. Yeah. If you're watching this later on YouTube, how did this get on YouTube? This is not supposed to be on YouTube. This is This is going to be a Patreon only video after I get around to getting the Patreon up and running. So thank you for supporting us on this Patreon. It is thanks to you that we are doing things that on the Patreon. Anything you want to talk about, Cookie, real quick? Shout outs, shout downs, call outs, call ins, hot takes, cold takes, slow takes.
I don't really have anything.
Okay, so a little bit of a background set. Cookie and her character Opal have joined us for a number of previous games on Second Sight Agency. This, however, game is going to take place prior to her joining the Second Sight Agency game. This will take place roughly in the week between the Gruul incursion was run out and Cookie and Opal's introduction to the agents. So, let me just do Oh, I think I mentioned the music, but just in case I didn't mention the music is by Sirenscape. Check out Sirenscape. If you hear me sniffling, I'm sorry. I am not used to this weather. Or any weather. I want to live in a hermetically sealed dome.
That'd be nice. No allergies.
Yeah. Okay. Alright. And I don't think I can delay this anymore, so here we go. You have the nightmare again. You're standing in an hold on, wait. Let me get more thematically appropriate music! There we go. There we go.
What a tone shift.
Yeah. You have the nightmare again. You're standing in an open field. Next to you is a large dead tree. The rotted wood of the tree, twisted and gnarled, blackened with flame and the markings of sharp objects that have hacked into it again and again. The twisted wood writhes under your gaze for a moment before it starts to split open like a doorway. A young man emerges from it. With short brown hair and bright blue eyes, he has a handsome face. His body is well toned and athletic, but from his waist down, instead of legs and the form that you would expect of him, he has the lower body of a giant arachnid. As he extends his arms to you, he starts crying blood. At first, just a few drops at the corners of his eyes, rolling down his cheeks and dripping off of his chin, but more and more until his face is stained red from it. It starts leaking from the corners of his mouth now, a red froth, just slightly pink from the mixture of his saliva with it. He opens and speaks to you through this bloodied mouth, and you see his mouth moving, but you do not catch the words. Instead, you awaken in a cold sweat. You do not always have this nightmare, but you have it frequently enough that it is less a random bad dream and more a part of your life. You grew up in the Greenbelt, you have a fondness for slightly burned food, and you have this nightmare. Just another fact of your life. And 1 second. Another tonal shift. You wake up on your cot in the Murder Coliseum. It's been maybe 4 days since the Rakdos, with the help of several other guilds, drew the Gruul and the majority of the Gruul to a carnival and then drove them out of the 4th precinct. You were not directly involved too much in this activity, but you were a participant nonetheless, performing on the stage and helping out on the back and on many of the shows. You can hear outside the simple little shared common room called the crash room that you and the other performers frequently use, the sound of people having breakfast. You smell eggs, bacon, warm breads, typical hearty fare that one expects to have when they don't know when their next meal is going to be. The day is yours. How about for those of us who are just now joining us for the first time, we go ahead and describe Opal for us.
Okay. So, Opal is a fire Ganassi monk. Lots of fire. She has short, like goldish orange hair and sort of like golden tan / brass colored skin. and has one scarlet eye and one brown eye.
Mhm. So the bunk room you awaken in it's a common sleeping room. It's not no one's personal bed or storage spaces here. This is just I had a 12-hour shift. I need to crash out before I go to my next 12-hour shift kind of place. So you don't really have anything in the way of personal supplies here. You have your clothes, you have whatever equipment you have carried with you from your last show or that you need for your next show. Uh, you hear people laughing just up the corridor in the break room, where people are likely having breakfast, changing, preparing for the next show, or getting ready to head out to whatever they do during the day when they're not being Rakdos worshipping performers.
So I guess, honestly, she'd probably just like walk around and see how everyone's day is going.
Inside the break room, or are you heading, or inside the crash room, or are you heading up to the break room?
The break room.
All right. Up in the break room, there's about 4 or 5 people sitting around, talking, eating. A few of them are still in the grease paint of their performance, the white skin and the black or blue or red highlighting on the around the eyes, the lips, the mouth. Um, the table is laid out with just simple fare, sliced roasted meat. There's some hard-boiled eggs, uh, bacon, cuts of bread with slices of cheese or scoops of butter available. Rakdos are notoriously actually fairly good cooks, as that they run the catering industry. So while this is not an exceptional affair that would be served in a banquet hall, this is clearly decent food that it will fill you up and keep you going for quite a while. You recognize a few of the people around the table, not necessarily by name, but by performance or by reputation. Two of the men in grease paint, as well as the woman you recognize as having performed in the Murder Coliseum recently themselves. Uh, Two of the people along the back of the wall talking to themselves were at the most recent carnival. Recent expatriates from a rival ringmaster's ring who joined up with Devotion during the Gruel incursion. Everyone seems relatively friendly and happy to see you, inviting you to take a seat and have some breakfast with them.
I will do that.
All right. Uh, what you gonna have for the breakfast off of what's at the table?
A little bit of everything.
All right. So you kind of just not so much use a plate as you just grab what you want, pile it up on a slice of bread, grab another piece of bread to actually eat as opposed to use as a plate, and help yourself to breakfast. One of the performers that you recognize as being more skillful or more not excitable, what's the word for it? Enthusiastic. More enthusiastic about his knife throwing show than skillful at it. Leans over towards you and smiles a bit. He's like, hey, I've been hearing about Lawmage Paladin. He's been sniffing around some of the clubs lately, especially the ones that are reopening already.
Oh.
Yeah, he thinks that a couple of us may. He thinks a couple of the rings may have cut a deal with the Gruel to keep stuff, from being smashed and knocked over.
Interesting. And also sounds kind of like a challenge.
Yeah. We'll see what the boss says about it. He's supposed to be around here sometime soon.
I am intrigued to hear what he has to say.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not done to surprise. I mean, the Azorius, they're always sticking their nose where they don't need to be sticking it. You know, they're probably going to be raising taxes again just to pay for rebuilding the stuff that the Gruul knocked over.
Probably.
He kind of like clears his throat after a minute and leans over and talks to the woman across the table from him. Like, uh, have you heard anything about where Rhea may have disappeared to? Last I heard, she was taken on a couple of the Gruul, but no one's seen her since. And the woman across the table shakes her head. Nah, I mean, she's always been able to take care of herself, but you know, she always had a thing for the Smashers, so maybe she's run off again. It's like he kind of shrugs a little. It's like, okay. Beyond that, breakfast mostly proceeds quietly. There are a few. There are a few people coming in and out. One or two wave hi to you. Either they recognize you or you have a general idea of who they are. Um, you hear from higher up in the club the sounds of not so much an actual performance, but practice beginning. Closer to the what was once the sub-tram level.
I'm going to try and take a peek.
Alright. Go ahead and make a stealth roll for me.
Okay. What is my stealth? That's right. First roll of the night. What is that? 19.
19? Alright. So, the way up to the performance area is a long inclined tunnel. When y'all use this, when y'all run the full length of the place, this is a tunnel that people hang from the ceiling from and drop down to grab passerbys to give them a scare. But no one's running that, and y'all aren't doing a fun house today, so it's fairly empty. How are you stealthing up?
Just kind of ducking ducking behind anything I can duck behind, and just try to be as quiet as possible.
Okay, so you kind of just like go from scaffolding to scaffolding. Normally, someone that climbs up to the top of this hooks a kind of an elastic rope to it, and then jumps off of it, and then climbs back up. But since there's no one there, there's no one up above you, and you're free and clear to kind of scurry from position to position. Getting to the top of it, you peer out into the performance chamber, and you see the Coliseum is set up in the pit fights configuration that Devotion has been favoring lately. A maybe 10-foot deep pit center is in the center of the room with stands on either side, as well as stands leading up to his preferred chair. You can even actually see Devotion there at the moment, just kind of lounging. He never actually seems to sit in the chair. He always just lounges across it, draping his arms off one end and his legs off the other. Watching two performers in the pit practice maneuvers and belching gouts of fire. So yes! Very good. Come on, come on. You can do it. Put a little more effort into it. Deeper breath. Deeper breath. His voice carries as he shouts instructions, directions, and criticisms to the performers.
I'm just gonna stay hidden,
Okay.
but try to watch as much as I can.
After a while, the two performers exit the pit, and Devotion stands up and stretches out his incredibly elongated, lanky form, like seeming to get even longer as he like stretches one arm and the other arm. He flexes a bit as he sits up and lifts himself out of the chair, walking on down to the pit and kind of crouching down over it. He reaches down. He has to bend forward quite a bit to reach down and offer a hand to one of the performers, his fingers wrapping around their arm as he easily lifts them up out of the pit and sets them down. That was good. That was good. You're just about ready to go live. You have to keep thinking about what you're going to do next, though. Remember, once a show has been performed, word of it's going to get out. You can't wow people twice with the same show. Always be a surprise. Always. And the performer, like, not. It's like you can get a good look at him now that he's not in the pit. This is like maybe a 15, 16-year-old kid who did his own grease paint, clearly. It's like smeared and stuff like that. He's got a bottle of kerosene oil, or flammable liquid in one hand, and like a small little fire ring thing on his other hand that like he can snap his fingers to make a spark with. It's like, yeah, okay, I got it. Thanks, boss. Before he runs off, Devotion kind of twists his neck and makes a loud, audible popping sound with each direction as he stands up to his full, like, 7.5-foot height and looks over his shoulder at you, broad, shark-toothed grin as his bright red eyes lock with you in the shadows. Well. Hello, my pretty little Opal. You spying on something particular, or just watching a show?
Just watching the show.
Come here.
I'll walk up to him.
He kind of like cups his hand under your chin, like one of his fingertips stroking you like lightly from temple to cheek. It's like, oh, it's good to see you this early in the morning. I know you had a long night last night. Oh, you know, I have an idea for your next performance. Do you feel up to doing something fun today?
Of course.
Excellent. So, you know how we played a major part in that whole little gruel encounter and convinced them to come and enjoy the spectacle, and how, while they were busy, the Boros and the Azorius swept in and ruined their fun. I mean, far be it from me to complain about, putting on a show, and far be it from me to complain about seeing the gruel handed their own asses. I mean, we love our cousins, but our cousins are our cousins, not our brothers. But now, the Azorius and the Boros are all saying that they are the ones that drove them out, all on their own. They're preparing a parade.
Interesting.
So I was thinking, and he kind of like taps lightly on your forehead, that you, my bright little fire opal, could go out to Legion's Grand Square and put on a performance of your own, burn a few banners, and maybe entertain some people, remind them that the Rakdos played a role in this too. And here's the thing, I know the name of the knight that's going to be leading this parade. His name is Halmar Bladeweaver. I would like you to draw him out and mock him thoroughly. You will recognize him by the purple cape with the mace on it. Should be easy enough to spot, should be easy enough to make fun of. Knock him down a peg or two, And remind them that we're still here.
Can do.
Alright. Now you go have fun, my little one. I have a blood witch to find. And with that, he kind of reaches into his pocket, pulls out a little round metal object, flips it a few times as he starts heading towards the exit to the Colosseum.
This will be fun. And then she'll kind of just walk back out.
Alright, she's heading out of the Colosseum too, or is she heading back to the break room?
The break room.
Alright. In the break room, there's still two of the other clowns there. They're mostly done eating, and they're just playing a dice game. You can see them, like, tossing a couple dice around, counting numbers, and then trading coins every now and then. You didn't see the others slip past you, but they must have at one point, or must have gone back into the crash room at some point.
Okay. So I guess in this instance, she'll probably just go and like practice a performance.
Okay, what's she practicing?
Fire juggling?
Okay. Any particular items, or just like literally juggling balls of fire?
I was thinking like setting things on fire or juggling those.
Okay, so like you find a couple like actual meant for practice juggling and for fire juggling torches, and ignite those easily enough. Go ahead and give me a performance roll just to see how.
Okay. Come on, big rolls. Oh, 21.
Not bad. You start with the basics, like with just 3 of them, keeping one in the air at all time. Then you kind of, over a little bit of time, build it up. You start the cross switch, where you have one in the air while you switch the other 2, and then catch, and then keep that rotating through. Then eventually add a 4th one to keep 2 of them in the air at the same time, and you feel like you got a pretty good handle on fire juggling. It seems to come naturally to you.
Cool. I guess I don't really know if this would work, but she'll also try to like kind of bring them all together when she's done juggling, and just try to blow out the fire, kind of like breathing fire.
Okay. There is nearby flammable liquid nearby, so you can use that instead of burning like a use of your flamethrower abilities, which is generally a good idea to use props as opposed to using magic when you can. So you gather you get the little bottle of, it's basically a kerosene mixed with water. You attach it to your belt, you do the juggle, you go through the trick section again, and then go ahead and make me a performance roll.
Okay. Let's not set fire to anything important. 20 not natural.
20 non-natural. You flip one of the bottles in the air. Sorry, not one of the bottles in the air. You flip one of the torches in the air, pass the other 2 to your hand, grab the bottle, take a mouthful of it, re-put the bottle, manage to catch the torch that comes down so you're holding them like a bouquet, and a fiery gout of just erupts from where you blow out the liquid across the flame. Perfectly executed.
Woo. I think this will make a show quite fiery.
So go ahead and make a history roll for me. So, since Devotion mentioned an area, to see what
Okay.
you know about it.
17.
You don't know too much about the layout of it, but you do know the Legion's Grand Square is a plaza that's almost directly in front of the Boros stronghold. So you know if you cause too much chaos out there before the night that you're supposed to mock shows up, that you may have to deal with a large number of soldiers and troops.
Hmm.
So
Not
keep
what we
that in
want.
mind. It's one of those ones where you
Okay.
can't just go in and start spewing fire, otherwise you'll get run off before you have a chance to see your target.
Would I know of like potential, um, sort of like not exactly hidden areas, but kind of like just off to the side ish?
You rolled 17, right?
Mhm.
You do know that there are a number of alleyways that branch off of the square, that they're generally used for delivering goods and stuff to the back of like the nearby shops that line the perimeter of the square.
Okay. Um, Sounds like we're gonna have to do some scouting.
Mm-hmm. Definitely would not hurt.
So, I guess when she's done practicing, she'll be like, I need to find the place to perform this amazingness.
Well, with that 17 history, you know a general idea of where it is. You know that it's within the Syndrome neighborhood directly adjacent to Sunhome. So with that information in mind, you have a pretty good idea of where you'd be able to find it.
Mhm.
It's probably going to take you a little bit of walking to get out there, unless you take like a carriage or the subtram. This
Okay.
subtram station you're in right now does not work anymore. Y'all took it over and kind of tore out all the stuff that made it work.
As to be expected. Um, hmm. I guess that'll probably be more of an on the spot thing than finding a actual particular spot. Um, would she know kind of like the daily, like not really daily, but I guess sort of like the general, I guess, time of when he's expected to be there?
Uh, since this is they're preparing for a parade, they're not acting on their normal schedule. She would know that normally this plaza is used for drills, such as like how training how to breach a storefront or stuff like that. It's also used for parade practices and so on like that. As there is an actual parade that's going on and it's going to be starting here, you're not sure what the schedule is going to be for people or who's going to be where then.
Okay. It's okay, it just makes it more fun. um, I'm trying to think what else could be done in this current time. Because I feel like there would be more to the performance.
Well, there's definitely time that you could probably work on a couple other acts if you want to think of something that maybe you would want to try performing.
Mhm. Um, Maybe potentially trying to master a new trick.
Okay. What would she try and use?
Um, I guess it would still be a juggling act, but on a tightrope.
Okay. That'll require a little bit more setup, and you'd have to head up into like the actual performance area to do that. Now, what you do have with you right now is that bottle of flammable liquid, a
Mhm.
large open floor space, and a couple torches.
Hmm. Well, then in that case, um, maybe making rings of fire on the ground while juggling.
Like,
Just kind of like individually lighting each one while juggling.
okay, I think I know what you mean. Go ahead and make a dexterity check for me. Just roll your straight
Okay.
dexterity, and then I need you to roll performance after that.
Okay. Oh, that's a nat 20 on my dex.
Nice.
And then performance, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Performance 14.
14. Beat the threshold on both. So what you end up doing is you go back to the 3-torch juggle with your with the bottle in hand. You kind of like spread a couple series of circles on the ground. You start juggling, and when one of them comes down into your hand and the others comes up, you grab the one that's as it's coming down and strike it across the liquid on the floor, and it circles around you as you're juggling. You move around, kind of like almost doing a dance while juggling, and strike it down as the next one as it comes down, and another circle, and you're now dancing between these two. And with the final one, you grab all 3 of them, bring them down, and tap them to the 3rd ring, and you're just encircled with fire on all sides.
Super cool. And that is what I envisioned, so
Awesome.
good job.
That's the job I do.
I think this would make a wonderful performance. Could maybe overdo it a little more on the fire, but I'm not here to kill people. And then she'll set out the fire.
Okay.
And start sort of like cleaning up.
Start cleaning up, like get your props and stuff ready.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take you about maybe 20 minutes to extinguish the flames, clean up whatever's left of the liquid, get a refill on the bottle, and get a couple fresh torches with striker pads on them. So these striker pads are nice. They're basically, the torch itself has been soaked in a oil and wrapped in a leather head. And on the inside of the leather head is a strike pad. So basically you grab the leather pad, rip it off, and when you do, the strike pad lights the torch.
Very cool.
So you go ahead and gather up like 6 of those.
Mm-hmm.
And get 2 bottles of the flame liquid.
I guess that now everything is sort of cleaned up now as well. She'll practice one more thing.
Okay.
Which is mostly acrobatics.
Mm-hmm.
Just to like
just
keep
kind of
those skills fresh.
Training her flipping, tumbling, jumping, stuff like that. Go ahead and make an acrobatics roll then.
The very monk side of her. It helps.
It does not hurt. Unless you fall.
True. 16.
16? You end up doing kind of like a semi-parkour routine. You'll like run up one of the walls a little, jump, backflip off. From there you'll land on your hands and kind of backspring to the table where you will walk backwards over it, doing a flip and landing like on your toes, ready to repeat the process in the other direction. And you do that 2 or 3 times before, like, yeah, I got this fairly down, yeah.
Super nice. So yeah, that's the last thing she was gonna practice.
Okay.
So then she's probably gonna try and find some other performers and see what they're up to.
Okay.
She's a social butterfly.
Are you checking in the crash room, or are you checking back in the performance area?
Probably the performance area first.
So going back on up there, Devotion has already left. There's 3 or 4 people that are preparing like the stage area, sweeping up, cleaning, getting like tonight brochure, tonight bills of like who's fighting and stuff like that, and putting them on the seats. They're restocking drinks at the nearby little mini bar, stuff like that. You don't see any of the other performers. Tonight's going to be gladiatorial matches where people basically come in and just do fighting for fun, profit, blow off steam. There are maybe 3 or 4 gladiators that you know of off the top of your head that frequent these bouts, but none of them would be here right now.
Okay. So then she'll probably just go peek in the other rooms.
Alright, peeking the other rooms as heading back towards like the crash room and the break room, or heading towards the outer areas of the Coliseum?
Probably the outer areas.
Alright, so you kind of follow this long winding tunnel. You know that there are little places where wires can be hooked in the dark tunnels to trip people up, but none of the wires are set in place right now. So you don't have to make any dexterity checks or saves or anything like that. You merge from the tunnel into what looks like the inside of a circus tent. There's a little chair next to the doorway that's just out of sight of the people coming in. There's a small little, maybe 4-foot rod with a slightly sharpened tip. You recognize this as like one of the first jump scares for when people enter. The person sitting in the chair can't be seen, and when someone walks in, they jab them in the soft bits with the little stick. It's not enough to hurt them, but it's definitely enough to give people a jump. Past the outside of the tent is what was originally the Subtram's location. There is a Barker's podium where whoever is on barking duty that night shouts out about the shows that are going on or the entertainment, works the crowd, insults people, makes fun of other guilds. There's Ticket Taker's podium where tickets are bought and sold and traded. There's a few food vendor carts that are in the process of being restocked. Mostly just, cheap fried foods that sell for a lot and are super popular. You see like 2 goblins that are kind of like working on the carts, working on the mechanics on the inside of them, because there's basically the Izzet have a heating element that is aligned under a pot of oil that's used to quickly fry foods. And they're just checking to make sure that the heating element is still firmly attached and not going to explode or anything, because that's always a concern with Izzet tech.
Whoops. Keep hitting the table.
I do that too.
So I feel like nothing really like interested her.
Mm-hmm.
So she's probably just gonna keep walking around.
Alright.
Until she finds something interesting.
She's going to head above ground then?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. It's pretty early in the morning. Like, Rakdos don't sleep late. Most of them have pretty early morning shifts and stuff like that. So you head up above ground. There is like a slight hustle and bustle of the city. People run by heading towards their work or heading back home from work. A couple of them head towards a cafe for breakfast. You see a centaur with a pair of goblins kind of clinging to its back as he just gallops down the street with like a little rides, RIDES, sign on his flank. There's a lot more people here, but they all seem to be going about their day or getting their day started.
So upon seeing sort of the, I guess, hustle and bustle of everything, she's probably going to go and just go for a nice walk.
All right.
Just sort of take in everything.
In particular area she's going to be walking towards?
Anywhere interesting.
All right.
There's an exact destination.
Go ahead and roll me a d6, please.
Okay. 5.
5? She finds herself kind of heading in a northeastern direction, just following the flow of traffic a bit. Not really, like, being swept up in it, but enough that, like, it's easier to go in that direction than fight against the crowd. Some people watching shows, interesting, day-to-day Ravnican life, walking by a shop that has a large Minotaur woman in the shop face working on this complicated mechanical device, and when she pulls a lever on it, it like extrudes this just massive noodle, and she stops and looks at. Clearly, it's not working properly for some reason. Pardon. That's really strong water. Oh. Really strong water. Continuing on in that direction, you find yourself after about maybe 40 minutes of walking, leaving the Barrow Hill neighborhood and entering the Sin Grove neighborhood. Here there's less day-to-day shops, fewer cafes, and more stores. There's a music store, a few furniture suppliers, just a general like supply and goods buy sell trade that one would expect, sprinkled here and there with Orzhov debt brokers, loan houses, or bondsmen in some cases. There are a few shops that cater to or advertise unique things like potions or salves, but nothing truly extraordinary or anything that really catches your attention on the trip. It's more just walking around and watching people who are... A couple of them do notice you kind of just strolling by, but most of them recognize you as Rakdos by your ensemble and your equipment, and give you a bit of a wide berth. You do see a few other Rakdos out on the street performing. There's one that has like a puppet stage set up, and a Punch and Judy show is going on for the entertainment of the children in the area, for an example.
She'll stop and watch some of the performances.
Most of the performances are the day performances. These are the things that entertain the children, or someone shouting jokes at the corner. There's one that you did not realize was a performance at first. It appeared to be a Videlkin in Simic robes who was interviewing a long line of people, but as you stopped and watched, each person that got up to the front was asked a few questions and then seemed to get angry and leave, and eventually, like, curiosity gets the best of you, and you kind of peeked over the Simic's shoulder and like saw the question list is like, how long have you been waiting in line? Why have you been waiting in line? Did you know you didn't need to be waiting in this line? And you realize that it's literally that the that close, you see that it's not an actual Vidalkin, it's a human that has disguised himself like a Simic Vidalkin, and is just basically started a line and seeing how many people he can get to go through it, calling it performance art.
Interesting. Um, well, I guess once she's had her fair share of performances,
Mm-hmm.
she'll go and maybe try and look for sort of like a park or just somewhere sort of like open fieldish.
Sandgrove is the nicer of the neighborhoods. It has several parks. In both the children are playing here parks, as well as the here is a quiet space um, away from like the busy life. That it's basically a tree, a bench, and maybe a fountain. The really big parks and the like back to nature type areas are all in the third precinct. Fourth precinct, the biggest you're going to get is maybe a city block, and most of those are not in any kind of visible shape because of the incursion. I mean, even during all this, you like walking around, you're seeing large portions of the city are just absolutely destroyed, and a lot of the business that is being conducted is clearing rubble and starting rebuilding.
So yeah, she'll probably just go to anywhere that's sort of scenic.
Okay, make me an investigation roll, just to see which one you end up at.
Okay. 4.
4. At the eastern edge of the Singrove neighborhood, where you're getting near Sunhome, there is a small park with a goblin statue uh, and a trash can chained to it. You don't see very many children here, but you do see a few goblin children, and what they're doing is they're running around collecting materials from the rubble of nearby, dragging it to the park, and then using it to construct their own play equipment. Like, you see one of them pull the siding from a collapsed shop across the street, drag it into the park, and start bending it into the shape of a slide before leaning it against like a tower of logs that they've erected.
Innovative. I'll kind of walk past, give them like a little smile and just like a good job, and then kind of try and just have my own little corner.
There's not too many kids here. It's the middle of the day, or it's early morning. Actually, you're probably getting close to about 10 now. Yeah, with all that
Mm.
walking, you're getting close to about 10 now. Most of the kids are either um at their, I won't say in place of employment, but their apprenticeship, or they're undergoing their education right now, wherein they have someone, they are taken to a school, or they have someone show up and tutor them. So there's not a lot of kids out and about here. It seems to be just these like 3 goblin kids. They look at you with like their like teeth and grin and wave at you before going back to just pounding the shit out of the sheet of metal with a hammer that they got somewhere. One of them doesn't even actually have a hammer, he's just got a rock with a stick tied to it, but they seem to be working it into the shape of like a tunnel.
So innovative. Um. Oh, and then she'll just kind of make her way and then kind of just sit.
There's not really like any benches or anything like that. There's plenty of logs and stuff to sit on though. So yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking a log or
Yeah.
the ground, whichever one. She's not picky.
Yeah, it's not super comfortable, but it's comfortable enough. You do enjoy like the bang, bang, bang of the children as they work this metal into a tube, and then their laughter as like they prop it up against something, climb up, and then just slide down it. There's like a and you watch them as they just roll out of the like it's almost like they're being shot out of like it from the angle that they put it at. And after like the first one or two, they come up, they're like bruised and stuff. They start like adjusting the height of it so that they have a little less rough of a landing.
Out of character, but that's so cute. Okay. So, are there like any, I guess, flowers or weeds around her?
There's some grass and some stuff like that. There's no real flowers here. It's mostly this is clearly a what's called an adventure park where children are encouraged to explore, build, tear down, stuff like that. And as such, like a lot of the vegetation that does grow here gets damaged. But there is like a ring of grass that has survived at the edge, despite, random debris being dragged over it. Uh, Once perk of the Gruul incursion is that a lot of vegetation did get brought in just because of some of the spells that the shaman were casting. So there's not a lot of vegetation here, but the vegetation that is here is super hardy.
Got it. Okay. So, I guess she'll kind of just run her fingers through it, or what's left, I guess, and kind of just slowly start to think about past memories, but then quickly be like, oh, wait, and then press them back down.
Okay. Make a wisdom check for me, please. Or saving throw.
Okay. Hopefully, I don't have to change my dice yet. We're good. 19.
Yeah, you get a pretty tight handle on that memory that resurfaces pretty quick. A lot of your training and stuff has to do as much with your elemental connection and your physical connection as it does with your ability to find that quiet balance within. So you find that like as the memories come back, it's easy to suppress them by kind of entering into an almost meditative state, separating yourself from your past experiences.
Awesome. So she'll kind of just sit there, I guess, for probably about like 45 minutes.
Okay, you're getting close to the the noon. Yeah, you're kind of getting close to the lunch noontime hour. A couple of the goblin kids, like run off and get food. The one of them that was like probably not terribly bright, you see him just kind of wandering around, chewing on a stick for a little bit before he runs off as well.
It's a given. Just a normal day of work, you know.
Mm-hmm. But with the kids gone and the construction in this area not yet started as heavily, you find kind of like a quiet, moment of solitude, which is pretty rare in the center of the city.
I guess for that little moment of silence, she'll actually try to meditate.
Go ahead and make me another wisdom check.
17. Thank you, dice.
Your earlier meditation was not as exact, was a little bit more forceful, quickly brought into place as like a defensive measure. This is a slower, more rigorous meditation, but you settle yourself down, you focus on your breathing, you quiet your mind, you just kind of observe the thoughts that enter your uh, your thoughts and emotions for maybe a good 10-20 minutes before you start to hear noises and look up and see that there is a, well, small for the species, but large comparatively, Luxodon child that has come by himself to the park and is starting to like carefully disassemble and sort and organize the building materials.
Okay. And would the meditating like lower my guard at all
Not really.
in terms of like the memories?
This is, you're not meditating to block out the world. You're meditating to separate yourself and allow yourself to observe without any illusions or any clouding of your eyes, your own thoughts and the world around you.
Okay. So once she's done meditating, she's probably going to start heading back.
Heading back to the murder coliseum.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's going to be about another 2 hours or so worth of walking to get back there. All right, so along the way you see a couple more Rakdos performances. Now that it's starting to get into the evening or the afternoon, I mean, these are less like Punch and Judy and telling jokes on the side, right? And it's more, there's like a Vishino at one of the corners handing out flyers for one of the nightclubs called the Skin Cage and reciting dirty limericks in Draconic while he does so. You see a couple jugglers that are just doing ball juggling. They'll drop one and kick it up and then let it land on their head and hold out their hats and stuff like that for a couple tips and stuff, and just street busking. The shops are starting to get a little bit busier as people finish their shift, do their grocery shopping, or pick up anything that they may have needed before heading back home, or just keeping busy. But it'll take you about 2 hours or so, and it'll be about 2 o'clock, 2:30 by the time you return to the Murder Coliseum.
Okay. So a really late lunch.
Well, I mean, if you want to get food, there's food in the area.
True. I should want the Rakdos cooking though.
Well, I mean, most cooking is done by Rakdos. They are the caterers and stuff like that.
Is there any like I guess like hot spots that she would be more inclined to go to, or like maybe is loyal to?
Make a history roll for me.
Okay. Oops. That's an 8.
8. It's a bit of a walk, but on your way out of the Singrove neighborhood, you do see a shop called the Noble Noodle. It's the lower floor is mostly intact. The upper floor is where apartments are damaged. You're not 100% sure, but you are fairly familiar that you think they have a Rakdos cook in there.
Can I like poke my head in and see?
Okay. Going into it, you actually notice that they have 3 different serving styles of serving. Like, you poke your head in, and you see there is like an actual dining room in the back, with like a hostess. There is a stand-up noodle bar like right inside, and then looking out across from the door is just a grab and go noodle bar. So you can either grab your noodle and keep on walking, you can go inside, stand at the bar and get your meal, or you can go and have a nice sit-down meal, and varying scale of pay for each.
Mhm.
But you see back behind the noodle bar slash grab and go, there is a um, human short shock red hair. Um, he's got just like the classic "I'm cooking" jacket on. It's a little clean, but not excessively. Like I just got this out of the wash. There's some smears and some smudges on it, and he is frying noodles in one pan while tossing, and a little like the monk the it's a little demonic looking monkey creature with kind of spiked horns and spikes down its back is like helping him by grabbing bowls and bringing them out to him, and then taking bowls of food and dropping it in front of like the person, or packing it up and tossing it out the window to a person that comes up to grab an order.
Hmm. Interesting establishment. Um, is there like someone at the door that sort of guides you on where to go, or is it more just sort of like you go in there and then they'll come up to you?
There, the option is if you go to the grab and go, you're expected to basically shout your order, grab it, pay, and go. If you go up to the noodle bar, you will be greeted, given like a thing of water or something, and ask your order. If you go to the actual sit down restaurant, the hostess will seat you and have a waiter come and take your order after a bit.
Okay. And is there anywhere where like there's prices posted, or is that something you have to go check at each?
It would be on the menu or the offering stuff.
Okay, so she'll grab a menu.
Okay. She's grabbing the menu from the restaurant or from the noodle bar?
The restaurant.
From the restaurant. The Vidalkin like looks you up and clears. uh, we are almost finished serving lunch. Do you have a reservation, Miss?
Opal.
She kind of opens her thing. I do not have a reservation for you. We can certainly seat you, but we would need to clear the dining room relatively quickly. You may be better served at the. And she stops for a moment and looks over at the noodle bar.
I suppose I should be getting back pretty soon anyway, though.
Hmm.
I'll go take a look.
Okay. Um, the gentleman behind the noodle bar who's working with like the demon kind of looks and says, "Hey!" As you walk over, and there's little plastic sheet menus there. There's just 4 items on it. It's basically uh, what types of meats, like pork, chicken, beef, grub, and then the mushroom, like the type of noodle mushroom, flour, egg, and wheat, and then broth type, and then a list of like vegetables, and it just says um, 10 zib, which is 1 silver piece or 10 copper coins.
Okay.
So it's not cheap, but it's not like super expensive either.
Mhm.
It's about middle of the road.
Um, she'll probably go for the most basic thing so that she can like eat and walk
Okay.
or
The,
attempt to.
the server, and you recognize that he has a Rakdos pin on his breast now that you're actually close enough to see him. Uh, Scoops up like a variety of noodles, drops some veggies on them, pours ladles broth over it, puts down strips of meat, slides it to one for the sister.
Thanks much.
He be with you. And then he goes back and like leans out the window and calls, "Golden Dragon, burn black!" and tosses like this almost blackened noodles in like a peanut sauce, packs it up, and like literally yeets it through to the demon that scampers up and sets it on the windowsill.
Now that is good cooking. Ooh, I have to sneeze. Sorry. Snuck up on me.
Happens, no worries.
Where were we? Sorry.
You are in the Noble Noodle. You just got a bowl of what is called Red Dragon Curry, which is a spicy noodle broth, spicy peanut noodle broth with mushroom noodles, two slices of beef, and a slice of pork, as well as a topping of various spicy vegetables.
Okay. I didn't pay yet, right?
He did ask for money. He gave it to you and then moved on.
Okay. Well, I guess in that case, I'll probably just leave, like, a silver anyway, and then leave.
Okay. Make a perception check as you head out the door for me.
Okay. I don't remember what my perception is. Okay. Ooh. 5.
5? Okay. That still beats his 4. As you're heading out, you feel like a little tug, and you see the small little monkey demon climb up your leg, holding a silver coin, put it in your pocket, and then leap off and scamper away.
Okay. I'm not questioning it. I'm just gonna keep walking.
Alright. So, you went up to the noodle bar, and the thing is that they gave you actual, like, a bowl and actual silverware and stuff, and not the to-go package. So you're, like, just walking off with a bowl and, like, silverware.
Whatever works. Could use it in an act.
Never know. Spinning bowl. I mean, it's a nice bowl. It's not, like, expensive nice, but it's like, we paid $20 and got, we paid like 20 silver and got 100 of these nice.
So yeah, I guess she'll just keep walking.
Alright, she's going to head back towards the Murder Cafe, Murder Coliseum, then Murder Cafe. I'm going to have to stat that up.
Yes.
Alright. So, like I said, it'll take you about, hold on, sorry. People are sending me messages. It'll take you about 2 hours to get back there. You can easily finish the noodle bowl by then.
Cool.
And I assume you're going to hold on to the bowl and the silver, or are you just going to chuck it somewhere on the way back?
Probably gonna hold on to it.
Sorry?
Probably gonna hold on to it, because you never know.
So, you make your way back down to the Murder Coliseum. There's an actual, not performance, but there is sparring matches going on as people warm up for, like, the main event tonight going on. Devotion is back on his chair, kind of lounging. He's like, "Ah, you are back! How did it go? Have fun?"
Very.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, this went so well, I have an idea for a couple more performances for you. You know what? I'm going to be visiting some friends soon. You can come with me. It'll be very entertaining.
I count on it.
He kind of settles back in to watch, and if you look into the pit, there's a couple people, and they're just like no face paint or anything like that. The two mediumly beefy guys, and they are just brawling.
Um, I feel like she'd be very intrigued to see who wins.
All right, give me a second. Okay, it's not a very long fight. They're both like kind of skinny dudes. Like they're more wiry, like scrappy than uh beefy. Like I can take 50 hits without blinking. They're pretty well toned though. So like in the end, one of them with like a side cut on one half his head and long hair on the other half just gets pummeled to the ground by this like kind of square jawed, almost military looking kid with just a buzz cut off the top. And he's like, and Devotion's just like,
So I should probably watch like a couple more of the sparring before heading back off
okay.
and doing her own thing.
There's like another 2 or 3. These aren't like actual like, fighting to win. These are fighting to toughen up the new guy kind of thing. So there's not a lot of cheering. There is some betting, but there's for the most part it's just one tough dude beating up on a not tough dude to make that dude tougher. Where's she heading now? It's getting to be about 4 or 5 o'clock at night now.
Probably we'll go back to the area where she was practicing earlier. To, I guess, practice some martial arts.
Okay. Go ahead and make me just a dexterity roll.
Okay.
Since you're not attacking anything, you're just like practicing, training.
18.
Alright. You kind of like get one of the benches and lean it up against the wall like you saw the kids do with that metal tube, and you just start like punching it, socking it, working, doing like practicing strikes and stuff like that. Give it a couple kicks. You work at it for a good 20-30 minutes. It seems to be taking some damage, but it's definitely a sturdy enough thing that you can punch it for a bit without breaking it. But you get a decent workout in.
I guess in this moment as well, could she like try and recall some of her past like training experiences and try to implement it into it to try and get stronger?
So she's trying to tap her memory without like going too deep and remembering too much, right?
As complicated as that sounds.
Yeah, this is going to be a multi-part roll.
Okay.
For accessing the memories, let's go ahead and do a history.
Okay. Which I always forget what my history is. Nat 20.
Nat 20, that's not bad. Now we are making a wisdom saving throw to maintain your meditation.
Okay. 14.
14. And finally, we are making a dexterity to see pulling off the maneuver.
Okay. Is that like the saving throw or?
Just straight dexterity roll. Add your modifier.
Okay. 24.
24. You have a little bit of a slip. You remember more of your history than you want to, but you recall some of the training situations, and you do get a little emotional over what led you to the training in the first place, but you kind of tamp it back down and perform this kind of slow kata of moving your hands in very precise movements before striking out with both fists at the bench, like one on top of the other, and there's like a crack and a seam kind of runs down it. You haven't mastered the technique yet, but you have recalled and are getting a little bit better at the twin fist maneuver. Or not twin fist, sorry. Twin striking fist maneuver.
Okay. And then the last thing that she'll practice before trying to go and find a group to socialize with is just some like sword fighting.
Sword
skills.
fighting. You kind of dig out the. It looks a little bit like a scimitar, but it's shorter. You're not too sure what to call it. It's a heavy blade. It's definitely designed for slicing and chopping. It was given to you by the person that trained you after Devotion arrived to take you to his ring. You kind of pull it out. Do you activate it, or are you just training with it directly?
Directly at first.
All right, go ahead and make a make a dexterity roll. You're not really attacking; you're just practicing with it, so you're not using your attack modifier right now.
11.
11. You're decent with it. You are getting the handle of using it. You're so much more used to using your fists and feet and fire in combat that it feels a little weird for you, but you kind of practice with just like slicing. You reverse the grip and practice with the butcher's grip a couple times. You're getting a general feel for this new weapon.
And she'll also, I guess, practice sort of putting acrobatic maneuvers on them.
Okay.
Just so they look cooler when you strike something.
Just like make me an acrobatics roll.
Okay. That is... Oh, right. That's the... Okay. 17.
17. One of the things that you kind of been working on for a while, you run up to the bench and you run up it, and like you did with the wall with the parkour, you backflip off of it. However, this time, instead of just backflipping, you bring the blade up in an upward strike behind you as you flip off of it. So you leave this nice long vertical gash in the bench as you perform the maneuver.
Cool. My main goal is just to look badass. I guess she'll also practice it with the blade activated, so she knows like how close it can be to her body in retrospect to everything else.
All right, so you spend a moment, and the blade grows hot for a second before, and it's just wreathed in flames. Make an acrobatics roll.
18.
18. You do the exact same maneuver. The tip of the blade just barely dragging up along the bench, trailing fire behind it as you flip off of it.
Very cool. So at this point, she'll probably just deactivate the fire and then put it back and start cleaning up again.
Okay. Well, at that point, I would say it's been about an hour and a half. And so I feel like that concludes this little mini session. I hope everyone who joined us enjoyed Opal's day. I I know there wasn't a
Lots of
ton.
fire.
I know there wasn't a ton of action, stuff like that. This was more of a roleplay session. But thank you for joining us. And if you enjoyed this, please join us this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for our full game. The bonus roll presents Second Sight Agency. We're playing D&D 5e set in Ravnica with a detective agency. Join Opal as well as Zizva, myself, and several of our other friends as the Second Sight Agency navigates. Oh my god, I got so much planned for you all. Hey.
Oh boy, his inner devotion just came out.
So, thanks for joining in. We will hopefully be back with GM's Brew next week. I will talk to some people and we'll take a look into this idea of doing like one-shot Fridays. I mean, an hour and a half and night ain't too bad. We'll see. No promises, no cursing. Everyone, have a great day. If you're watching this later on Patreon, thank you for supporting us. If you're watching this now on Twitch, if you want to support us, show us to a friend. Tell your friends about us. Annoy your friends about us. Or, sub, or make your friends sub. Take your friends'
We have fire circles.
Yes. Take your friends' money and sub for them. Tell them it is a gift. We'll be back later. Y'all have a nice one.